It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join News Director Paul David as he talks with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to have you in studio with us today. Brienne Pettit is back in studio with Fry. Hello.
Hello.
Forest Restoration Initiative. We skipped a year. We didn't hear from you last year, so we're going to have you back this year and catch us up on Fry. The reason I thought about it, and it was actually prior to the museum fire, but it's been all the talk about watersheds. Mm-hmm. And your husband James was in here a few weeks back talking about Coconino National Forest and how things are going there.
Yep.
And then we've had Pete Gordon come in. So I thought, well, we got to have Brienne come in and talk about Fry because that covers 4 different forests and a huge chunk of land.
Exactly.
And it's quite the endeavor. And I think I had you guys come in way back at the beginning when it first started. And we've been following along with you.
Yeah, we've been taking this little journey together.
Yeah. When did it start?
So Fry itself started in 2010. That's
Okay.
when we were given the funding through the Collaborative Forest Landscape Restoration Program.
2010. So we're almost halfway through it because it's a 20-year project, right? Or is it longer than that?
Well, it is. It's a 20-year project, and then we have other projects within there that started later that are also going to be for certain amounts of time. So restoration isn't necessarily a thing that you reach a deadline on. It's getting to a journey. So over the course of 20 years, our goal has just been to accelerate that pace and scale of restoration. Basically, we want to do our restoration treatments like thinning and burning bigger and quicker.
Okay. And this came about because of the Rodeo Chetaskai, the Wallow Fire. They were definitely influences on getting, it's like, oh my gosh, we got to get something done because these fires are just massive.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
We only saw one this year so far. The Woodbury was the big one.
Woodbury was a big
well
one.
over 100,000 acres. Mm-hmm. And those are the fires we don't want to see.
Yeah, well, exactly. We want to see fire, but we don't want to see it burning like that. The fire that was just on the peaks, the museum fire, was only a few thousand acres, but it was burning like that in a lot of those areas. That's really what we don't want to see. When we see fire, we want it to be its historic natural roll, nice and low and slow into the ground. It can do a few things, a slightly hotter pockets, but for the most part, it's not doing much except for what it's meant to do. That's recycling those nutrients back into the forest, cleaning up that forest floor.
The mosaic pattern.
Yeah.
Isn't that what we call it, the mosaic pattern?
Yes.
Yes.
Fire
Got a little bit of green here, a little bit of dark here, but it doesn't burn all of it. It doesn't burn it all the way to the ground and turn it to glass. And that's the concern we have when these fires really get out of control.
You got it.
Well, real quick, let's get the websites out there too. There's forfry.org, which is the stakeholder website, but that's a lot of good information about the Fry project there. Or you can go to, and get your pens ready because I'll say this more than once, fs.usda.gov/4 and then Fry, F-R-I, is the website. So we'll have those coming up on the screen, and I'll mention that several more times. Are we on track? Last time you were here, we had some contractors that weren't quite able to keep up with what they were supposed to be doing and getting projects done, and it was kind of moving at a slower pace than what we wanted it to be doing. So how is it coming along?
Everybody is accelerating. Yeah, we still have contractors who are struggling in general. We do have that really large contract that everybody's eyes are on, but all of the operators in our forest are facing the same challenge. We don't have much of a market, and there aren't mills. There aren't places to take this really small diameter wood, and without that market, it's too expensive for folks to get that work done. So we are making some progress. When we started this 10 years ago, the Forest Service was offering contracts about 10,000 or so acres a year across those 4 forests. Last year, we offered 46,000 acres in contracts.
Total or each?
Across the whole forest.
Across the whole forest.
So we went from about 10,000 9 years ago. We're operating now at a pace of around 40,000. Our ultimate goal is to try and get to that pace of 50,000. We need it to be sustainable, though. We won't want to just reach that point and then flip backwards.
Fall back, right.
So we're doing great. And industry has also kind of accelerated, but they're starting to hit this point where even at full capacity, they're not able to keep up with 46,000 acres a year. we're still seeing them in the 15,000 range, 20,000 range each year. And a lot of it is because they're not going to bid on a contract if they can't see a way of making the money off of it. So
we're still at that point then.
We have some struggles, yeah.
Okay.
So we are working on some things. We got a lot of partners. That forfry.org, that's our group of stakeholders. It's over 30 collaborators all in one room, everything from our environmental organizations to the industry members themselves. And we're all at the table working, and we're coming up with some solutions. We all know that it's a destination, or it's a journey, not a destination. So we're getting there. There
was always the talk of we need a mill in the area. Because right now, we were talking about this before the show, it either gets shipped down to Phoenix, these log trucks go to Phoenix, or they go over to the White Mountains. I think most of them probably go to the White Mountains. Yeah. But you're telling me that once they get there, it's like, well, we really don't need this much wood. We don't have as much product to make out of this stuff.
Right.
So there's our problem.
Yeah, all of the mills are in the White Mountain areas, or you have Phoenix, which means that if you're pulling forest products out of the Flagstaff-Williams area, it's very expensive
it's a heck of a
to
journey.
trek that over there. It's very expensive. They're no longer able to even afford their business. So we need some more mills. We need something that's going to help us address the unique kind of forest products. And I'm talking about what we all know as biomass. It's very thin, very, very thin trees, or the thin branches and needles that come off of the trees. From a normal thinning project, that usually gets piled up, and then we, the Forest Service, my husband, will come through and burn those piles in the winter, or sometimes in the spring when it's real wet.
Right?
So if we can find a market for that and have all of that biomass removed, that's a lot less burning that we're doing. And fire's fire. It's always a little bit dangerous. I would rather my husband not have to go and put himself in front of more fire, but really it's also less smoke in the air if we can save ourselves that. So we need some places to take it, and we need some operators to do the work. And we, the Forest Service, are already at that place where we can offer them the wood and guarantee them the wood. So in order to bring that infrastructure in, folks need to be able to see that there's a good chance they're going to get a return on their investment.
Sure.
So that's what we are trying to do now.
Yeah, no one's going to come there and do it out of the goodness of their heart.
Exactly.
It's your job to go in there and clean up the forest, but, for the rest of us, unless you've got a reason to make money off of it, why would you?
Yeah.
We're going to take our first break, okay? Brienne Pettit from Forfry in studio, the Forest Restoration Initiative. Forfry.org is one of the websites. I'll give you the longer one after the 2-minute break. We'll be right back.
Solid Rock Fitness is a one-on-one fitness studio specializing in fitness over 50. I train older adults of all fitness levels, from athletes and avid sports participants to folks with chronic pain to those recovering from surgeries. You and I will focus on strength training to improve overall muscle tone, core conditioning, balance, agility, flexibility, and nutrition. Mastery of these components of fitness will help you live your life to the fullest with confidence and competence.
Paul Stanley here with Stanley Steel Structures. We offer shade structures that provide style, value, and performance. Our Equinox louvered roof opens and closes to give you the ultimate patio experience. We also offer Alumawood shade covers that looks like wood but lasts like steel and never needs painting or maintenance. Visit us at StanleySteelStructures.com. Contact us today and be covered tomorrow. Stanley Steel Structures. Let us add some space to your place.
Fabulous views and unmatched quality with efficiency in mind. Just announced, C&B Construction is the only contractor ever to win the EPA's coveted Indoor Air Plus Leaders Award 4 years in a row. These Energy Star certified homes provide unparalleled energy efficiency, comfort, durability, and indoor air quality. C&B Construction is currently building at Gray Fox Ridge and Crossroads at Mingus. C&B Construction, locally respected and nationally recognized.
Hi, I'm your host, Smokey Colbert. Filling in for Smokey, because after 75 years of...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Turns out there's much more to say. Nearly 90% of wildfires are caused by us humans being careless, dumping our used barbecue coals willy-nilly. Guess the song was wrong. We did start the fire. That's why I respect Mother Nature and her trees, whether coniferous or new car scented. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Welcome back to County Wide. We're talking about the Forest Restoration Initiative, 4FRI. There is 4fri.org or fs.usda.gov/4fri. Brienne Pettit is in studio today. So we've kind of the challenges that we have, and still challenges that we will have until somebody comes up with, I guess, a lumber mill and says, okay, I'll take all of it. Bring it to me. What are we working on right now? Because the Bill Williams was a big deal. The museum fire area was actually a big deal, and now it's been burned off, so I guess that kind of cuts that work down a little bit.
Not completely. Well, there's still work to do.
But okay, let's start over in the Williams area on the Kaibab. How's that coming along?
So there are a lot of different projects happening over there, and like I was trying to describe, we have a lot of different contractors doing a lot of different work. So there is some work happening on Bill Williams Mountain, which is that mountain right next to town, pretty crucial piece of landscape there. And then we have a lot of other work happening in and around the Williams and Parks areas. And if you look from this higher up scale, you'll see that we're starting to build little donuts, if you will, right around each of these little communities. We're especially focused on areas that are steep slopes, like Bill Williams, and the areas that are on the south and west portions of the communities, because that's the direction our winds come from predominantly.
I totally see that when you say that, yeah, because if you get the south, the wind's always out of the southwest, it seems like. Wintertime, we get the north winds after the storms are over and the wind comes out of the north, but sure as enough, it just changes right away. And then the steep slopes, of course, so we keep fire from burning intensely up those steep slopes, like we saw with the museum fire.
Exactly.
That's where their biggest trouble spots are. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, they are trouble spots, not only for post-fire flooding, but our watersheds. This is where Northern Arizona is where you guys get your drinking water. This is where Phoenix gets their drinking water. Yeah. So if we have soils and sediment falling into Lake Mary, we're in trouble with our drinking water. So there's a lot that make those watersheds pretty crucial.
Is it safe to say that up there every city town has its own watershed? I mean, that's what we're really going into and protecting, right? That's why Williams is getting a donut around it, as you said, to keep those fires from destroying Williams's watershed.
Yeah. Lake Mary and Flagstaff. Even Blue Ridge Reservoir, well, it's actually C.C. Cragen Reservoir that feeds Payson. Any of these slopes. But again, it's not just these communities here. The folks in Phoenix are getting water that came off of the national forests in northern Arizona.
Sure.
So it's more than just recreation. It's more than just fire, and it's more than just these folks here. This is something that all of Arizonans are affected.
These are priority areas prior to anything else in the forest. These are the priority areas, because if a fire starts outside of these areas that you treat, the hope is that we've treated this area, so when the fire hits it, it'll slow down and we can get the upper hand on it before it really causes too much damage.
And we've seen that actually work many times now. When fires are coming up, it'll hit a treated area and it has less to burn. So instead of running through treetops, it's doing much more of a slower, we say it just falls to the ground. And then our firefighters have a safer place to get in there and go a little bit more direct and keep it from spreading further. So we actually just saw some of those treatments work in the work they were doing on the peaks in the Dry Lake Hills. In the museum fire, they were doing helicopter logging there. There was some steep slope logging, which is it's groundwork with equipment specially made for that. And in those areas, we are, at least from the preliminary findings, seeing that those treatments really did help keep, in terms of the spread and in terms of fire severity, intensity.
Okay. But we didn't quite get the whole museum area done, so we did have some intense burning there.
We did. There was still some intense burning, and not everything was done there, but not everything is gone either. There's still some work to be done in that area. It's not like it's all torched up and devastated, and so we are going to be offering some of the product. We have decks from some of the sales that had already happened, so big log decks that are out there that we'll be able to put back out for sale and have someone come take those. There are decks there from that logging that happened that instead of trying to sell it now, and it's not very good product, they're actually going to use that for the recovery work, turn it into mulch and drop it on those steep slopes, which is work that's pretty typical after a large fire to try and help keep those soils on the landscape when we do get rain. So we've got some pretty unique ways. We're trying to be innovative, which is what 4FRI is all about, just trying to think outside of the box, be creative with how we're addressing our problems and finding solutions.
We should probably make mention that 4-Fry is Kaibab, Coconino, and Apache Sitgreaves.
And Tonto.
And Tonto.
The Payson Ranger District is part of 4-Fry.
Okay.
And that, even though Tonto mostly is around the Phoenix area, they've got a little chunk up here too.
Yeah, they got a little chunk that backs up against the Coconino up there near Payson.
It is.
All right.
It is.
So we're trying to ramp up to 50,000 acres a year. How many have we gotten done in almost a decade that we've been at this now?
So in terms of thinning, we're looking at several 100,000 that we've been able to do. If you look at restoration as a whole, we've managed to get some restoration on about 700,000 or so acres across northern Arizona, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
When I say restoration, I'm talking about fire and thinning. And I always plug this, that fire is a restoration activity. Fire is natural, and we do want it to be there. So as we thin more and we restore that structure, pattern, composition of the trees themselves, fire is more likely to move through that area at the intensity that we want, the severity that we want in its natural role. So the two together equal healthy forest, resilient forest.
The last thing you want is that fire climbing up a tree on those ladder fields and getting on top.
Exactly.
Burning across the top of the crowns, and then you got nothing left out there.
Yeah.
All right. We had the Nature Conservancy.
Yes.
Several years back, came in and said, you know what, we're going to develop some new technology. Is that how it kind of went? And we've got some ideas as to how we can maybe speed this up and help you work faster on this.
Even bigger than that. So it's not just, hey, we're going to create one product. We started the Future Forests Project with the Nature Conservancy, TNC, and the entire idea of this project is to basically experiment. It's a learning laboratory, if you will, and they're taking this opportunity to try new things with the way that we are prepping our timber sales and our mechanical thinning projects, the way that they're being implemented, and then just trying to figure out any kind of way that we can be more efficient and speed things up. And they're slowly but surely starting to find some of these things now. It takes a while because you can't really tell whether your experiment on this piece of the project was successful until you see the flip side of the effort. So,
sure.
But we're starting to find some good things. Now, TNC has been pretty instrumental in helping us with what is called the Digital Restoration Guide. It's basically tablet technology. So there's apps there that our folks in the field, I keep hitting my microphone, that our folks in the field use to kind of draw the prescription, if you will, on a map geospatially. And then that same information can go into the cab of the operator so that he can see what to cut as he's going, as opposed to our old school way where we write out in a nice thick document the things that they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit, and then we mark every single tree with some color paint. So it's a lot more efficient. It saves us time on that prep thing. It helps our operators understand what exactly they can and can't cut, and that's going really well. And TNC has been pretty instrumental in helping us make that something that is applied on that broader landscape, which is exactly what we need from them. So they're experimenting a lot. It's been great.
Did we say how many acres total is par 4-Fry? Did we say that yet?
I don't know. Did we?
I don't think so. Did we say 1.2, 1.6 million?
The entire 4-Fry footprint is 2.4 million acres. It's the largest restoration project in the country.
Okay.
Within that project, we have other little sub-projects underneath the 4-Fry umbrella of various sizes.
Wow.
But
wow. Let's take another break. Brienne Pettit, 4fry.org is the website. fs.usda.gov/4fry as well, another website for you. Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
Regrow, repair, replace. Regenerative medicine is the process of creating living, functional tissues to repair or replace tissue or organ function lost due to age, disease, damage, or congenital defects. Dr. Forrest Lanchbury and the team at Sedona Regenerative Medicine specialize in finding relief for patients suffering from chronic pain. Contact Sedona Regenerative Medicine to learn about anti-aging medicines that will help your body heal itself. 928-282-2520 or SedonaRegen.com.
Starting in the late 1920s, Grandpa Gettle and his brothers laid the groundwork for what would become a family legacy. Almost 100 years and 100 patents later, Gettle's High Desert Mechanical continues to raise the bar of quality heating, cooling, and plumbing products and services in the Verde Valley.
Call Gettle's High Desert Mechanical Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing at 567-2200 or online at GettlesHDM.com, providing solutions for your comfort. Don't settle. Get Gettles.
Listen to me. I am captain of the track team. And if I'm late...
She doesn't really think she's going to get out of here, does she?
Be nice. She's new.
Hello, is anyone there? Ugh!
Wow. Even from our standards, you look awful.
Oh, sweetie, what happened?
Me? My friend Becky got to talk to this super cute boy, and I tried to act like I wasn't jealous, but I so totally was. And then out of nowhere, this concrete barrier just popped up. Maybe it was a semi.
You mean you were driving?
Yeah. I mean, I know the whole eyes on the road thing, but this was a super important text. Maybe you have to know, Becky.
Texting? Great.
But it was only like 5 seconds, and I'm a really, really fast texter, so it wasn't even a big deal. Actually, has she texted me back yet? Wow, I get like no bars in this place. I wonder if they have Wi-Fi here.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a few minutes left of the program. If you're ever interested in going to a stakeholders meeting, you can find out more information on the websites. Again, it's forfry.org or fs.usda.gov/forfry. There is one coming up on September 25th. The public is good to go to these, right?
The public is absolutely welcome and encouraged to go. They happen every single month, forfry.org. The stakeholders host those meetings, and they're great. You get an opportunity to meet these folks who are at the table helping us come up with these solutions and representing the general community who we're working for. Okay.
And this one's going to be September 25th. At the Game and Fish office on Lake Mary Road in Flagstaff. Easy to find. I think most people know even where that is. But yeah, so that could be kind of interesting. I think it's from 9 a.m. till noon, something like that. It's in the morning. It says on the website, so check there. You mentioned there's another contract we could talk about, DES, DIS?
Well, there are two different things that we've got going on that are pretty big. We've got one of the agency's first 20-year contracting efforts happening right now. So we're about to put a request for proposals on the street, asking bidders to bid on our next large-scale, long-term thinning. So some folks are aware of the one really large contract that we have now. We are making it larger and longer this time around and offering or asking for some proposals. Part of this is because if we can show that there is a certain amount of product available and a certain length of time, that's going to attract the right kind of investment we need to put that infrastructure in place to get the work done.
Okay, so you're trying to show that return.
Yeah, the return
you put the work in, you're going to get some money out of this.
Exactly,
okay.
Exactly, which is what these folks need. And part of Forfry, it's about restoring the forest, but at the same time, it's about serving these communities, including supporting the industry that's out there. So we've got to find that good balance, and this is one of those ways that we're going to do that. So you'll hear some mumblings about new contractors, long-term contractors, big scale, and that'll be hitting the street here soon. And then the other big piece we have is inside our 2.4 million acre project, before any of the thinning can ever happen, we have to do an analysis, a pretty in-depth analysis, looking at the types of treatments we want to do and what kind of impacts, good or bad, will happen on the land when we do it. It's part of the National Environmental Policy Act, so we call it NEPA work. Okay. We now have a 1.2 million acre NEPA project happening. It spans 3 national forests up on the Mogollon Rim area, kind of circles around Happy Jack, Payson, and the Show Low areas. We are looking at, depending on what the decision will be, up to 890,000 acres of mechanical thinning and about 950,000 acres of prescribed fire. So right now, here this summer, expect to see what we call the draft environmental impact statement. It's where they take all of their findings and put it into a document, and we release that to the public. Now, it's really under the hood kind of stuff that's not necessarily the most exciting for the public, but it's available, and we're encouraging and asking for folks to comment on this. Let us know, because this is how we shape those treatments for their national forests. So folks have an opportunity to be a part of it, take advantage of it, get involved with the For Fry stakeholders group because they understand the ins and outs and can help you understand them too. But watch for that. Great commenting opportunity, a great way for you to get engaged so that when you do see some thinning and some burning happening near your hood, you understand where that came from and maybe you even had a hand in helping to plan it.
We're out of time. Brienne, it's always awesome to see you.
You too.
Brienne Pettit, forfry.org. That's today's Countywide. As always, we thank you for watching, listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.